My name is Caroline, and I'm delighted to introduce you to today's speaker, Danny Fields, in conversation with Fionnuala Meehan. Former manager of the Ramones, Danny is a music icon and is widely recognised as a founding father of punk. Fionnuala is a huge music fan, I've been told, and attends the punk rock festival Download every year. Their conversation will last about 30 minutes, and it'll be followed by an audience Q&A, after which Danny will be signing copies of his book for those of you who are here on time to receive one, just at the side of the stage. So I think we're in for a pretty good treat, so I'll hand you right over. Thank you for coming.
Danny.
Hello.
Welcome to Dublin, welcome to Ireland.
Thank you.
And welcome to the Google office. So this is our, as I was saying to you earlier, this is our EMEA headquarters. So not just Irish people in the audience, but people from all over the region.
If I could see them, I would know that. But
Yes, yeah.
find it. And if you're going like this, I won't know. So feel free. You can stick your tongues out anything. I cannot see you guys.
Don't worry, we'll have plenty of audience participation later. So 50 years, we were just talking, 50 years in the music industry. That's pretty amazing. And in looking at your life across things like journalism, being an author, promoter, manager.
I have to scoff at all those words.
Yeah, they sound pretty impressive.
Yeah, we're trying to redefine each one of them in turn. So, but yes, that you have to have a word for it.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, you don't strike me as a person who maybe consciously made a decision to do a certain amount of time in each one. So how did you end up having such a fantastic career? How did you make the decision to move between those different things?
Well, when you have nothing to do, you have to do something. So, you know what? I'm guided by what I love to see, and who's talented, and who's beautiful, and who says it great, and shoots it great, and is great. That's it. And sounds great, of course. Mm-hmm. Number one.
Number one.
Great songs, number one. And, I was wondering, what do you do with this kid? I graduated from college when I was 19. Didn't know this is a career. I didn't want to be a doctor like my father, that's for sure. I was not a business, certainly for sure, and to this day. I answered an ad in the newspaper. I got a job at a magazine for teenage girls, and I was in the music business. Okay.
That's where it all started.
Yeah.
It's pretty humbling to look at all of the fantastic artists that you've some discovered, worked with over the years. I mean, The Doors, Velvet Underground, the Ramones, the Stooges. When you saw these bands for the first time, were you reacting? Was it just instinct where you were going, "Yeah, I'm going to bet on these ones. These ones are going to be big"? Like, how did you make those decisions?
Well, you love something or someone. For me, the first band I loved was the Velvet Underground, because they were kind of our house band. They were rehearsing where we hung out. We'd follow them on the road, and their commercial destiny was clearly zero. There was nothing, no place you could go with that, but you don't care because you love it and love their songs. Heroin was the national anthem of my little unit, not the drug, the song. It's kind of like you heard that, and you were defined for the time being. You were placed, and that's it. You just stay with them, love them, stay with them. If they break up, which they did, then stay with the ones you loved who were doing the songs, which for me, 3 musicians from that band were subsequently very important to me, who were Lou Reed, John Cale, and Nico. And each of them you get absorbed. It's the story of life, we can't see it from above, and we can only sort of look at it now. It's for 50 years, as you say, go, oh, that's what happened. Because when it's happening, you don't know it's happening.
Yeah. And can I ask you, of all of those artists, maybe who some of your favorites were? Is that
I don't
an
like
unfair
favorites.
question?
I have so many favorites. Beethoven is a favorite, but we can't. I don't want to hear about him. Not much about him. I, all those bands would have had careers. The Ramones would have been signed. The Stooges, in spite of themselves, would have been signed. Nico is the artist I'm proudest of having something to do with, because she was thought of as a beauty, which she hated. As much as you can hate being called a beauty, I can't imagine that. No one's ever called me that. But she didn't like being merely beautiful, and she'd been through Brian Jones and Jimmy Page in New York, and her first solo album was recording songs of her boyfriends, Jackson Browne and Lou Reed, but she was writing the most astonishing songs. She was a songwriter, and then she worshipped English language poetry. And she would hang out in my apartment and look at, because in college I majored in poetry, so I had a lot of complete works of Chaucer and John Donne. You all know what that must look like. And she said, "Oh, I want this to be the name of my own album." And it was a poem by Wordsworth. And the phrase was the marble index. And this referred to a bust of Isaac Newton in Cambridge that was in marble, and had a line, and of course it's not a familiar poem, it's not a household word poem at all. I'm contemplating a bust of Isaac Newton in Cambridge. Okay. And it referred to the marble index, marble as in a statue, of a mind, I know I'm going to get this not exactly right, sort of traveling alone through the universe, which is Isaac Newton. Yeah. And of course, Nico, in her grandiosity and insanity, identified with that and said, "Oh, and the marble index." I said, "What? The album title? Okay. Oh, it's Wordsworth. Oh, okay, Nico. Yeah, you can call it that." So bringing her together with the president of the record company, she sat on the floor with a harmonium, and he said, "I guess we've got to sign her. Get me John Cale on the phone, quick." And they did astonishing collaboration, which was in 1968. It was 100 years ahead of its time, and will be 100 years ahead of its time in 2068, 2168. That's how amazing that album is. So I'm proudest of that.
You're proudest of that.
Okay, because there's this amazing songwriter blossoming, and being recorded as that. And the amazing musicianship of John. There's two people in that studio. It sounds, the Berlin Symphony Orchestra or something. He did it all. Yeah. And I had a feeling that from the days of the Velvet Underground, they were kind of like waiting to collaborate. This was it, and that was it. And my favorite photographer did the cover shot, Guy Webster, and great album. That's it. That's number one.
Okay.
Everything else,
that's fantastic.
That would have happened anyhow.
Okay.
Not that I didn't do anything. That is the one thing I did. I need some of this. Let me figure out how to open it.
I'll pour for you.
Bear with me. Yeah, this is easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Ask a question while I
was just going to say, while you're pouring there, I'll ask a question. So, your book, it's a beautiful book.
It's a non-book. All books are non-books now. It's photographs. It's photographs. It's a book of photographs that I took of the Ramones in their first 2 years I was with them, and as their manager, because they were perfect. And they came to me completely formed. There's nothing I could say, change your hair, or change your shirt, or change your shoes, or change the order of your songs, or change the bass. Untouchable, because they're perfect. Because I would not have liked them in the first place if they had not been perfect, okay? But, and you're the manager and there's nothing to do. The hotel rooms are booked, the gig is booked, the money's collected, all that's done, the record company, legal, all that's done. I just started taking pictures of them.
Yeah.
Because I was with them, and I had access to them, and I was learning how to be a photographer. Just by, and they're just beautiful. They're beautiful pictures, and the boys are dead. And I thought this should be a book. They're just, how can I tell you, they're beautiful photographs. It sounds so vain, doesn't it?
But
they are.
They are beautiful.
And it's a limited edition by a friend of mine in Paris, Fabrice Quillot, who did a book on Genesis P. Orridge and a book on Mark Almond. This is like amazing taste. It goes all over. And said, and his partner Richie Franklin in London, so they commute, and they wanted to do a book of those photographs. And I thought, yeah, okay. And now I'm a photographer because
another one
it says so. I book a photographs, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
But what I had to do, the photograph is worth a million words, worth 1,000 words. What's the cliche? You still have something to say about it, especially if you were there. And here, we see Dee Dee picks up a piece of shit on the Capitol of the United States and puts it on a balcony and lines it up with the Washington Monument and stands back, and you're, okay, it's art. Because Dee Dee was a great artist, and there was being a great visual artist. I don't mean to use that. It's not all that. But who else would have been there to watch him do that? And without going, ew, what are you doing? He was making art. So there's that. And then just posing, sort of learning how to be them. And then alone in the dressing room, I could be there. I could be this close to them when they were being private with a camera. And it wasn't like ambushing them, but it was because they knew I was there. They were learning how to be ambushed by a photographer, who was me, who was their manager. So if any of the pictures were terrible, they'd never be seen. I was, and the manager. I'm not going to let a terrible picture get out there. And then part of that process is learning how to be with a photographer who's not your manager. And you don't be caught with a piece of spaghetti hanging out of your mouth. Learn how, when you see that camera anywhere near you, this is work. Okay, and I thought that these points had to be made. This is work, you're public, you're famous, you're entertainers. Always now.
Always been.
Off stage, on stage. And that's the book. That's a book of photographs, and I love it. It's called My Ramones because it's the four Ramones I knew at the beginning before Tommy, the drummer, left and was replaced by another drummer who's quite a good drummer, but he's not my Tommy, and it was no longer My Ramones. And then they fired me. And then they went and recorded the song Danny Says, which everyone was playing.
We were
it's
just
not about
saying,
me.
It's not about you.
Okay.
Yes.
The song was called Tommy Says, when Tommy Ramone was telling them your next job is in, wherever it was. And it's Joey lamenting that he could he could be with his girlfriend, but Tommy, and then switched to Danny because it sounded better, says we've got to go to Idaho. Oh, I never told them. They never went to Idaho when I was working. But it's good. It works. That's Phil Spector. It was supposed to be a hit.
Yeah.
And it should have been. It's really a good song. But it's not about me. I wasn't there. I had been fired before they went into the studio to record it. But still, it's like, this is...
So you can't believe everything you read.
It becomes part of your life because people say it is.
I know.
So.
Absolutely. The book is beautiful. The photographs are amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd love to hear that.
And the commentary on New York as well. You're a New Yorker. You were born in Queens, was it?
Yeah.
And so if anybody, I suppose if you're interested in New York and interested in the Ramones, it's a fantastic book. And I learned what CBGB stand for. I never knew what CBGB stood for, so that's one to look out for.
Okay, well, that will serve you well. Knowing that. And it was really the first 2 years of their existence.
Yeah.
And that's when I was there, and that's when I was taking pictures. And then but that's the record of.
Yeah. It is a fantastic record of what happened. And we were talking earlier about, if that was today, we'd be, would bands, similar bands be Snapchatting and, constantly streaming what's going on? What's your view of, because you clearly wanted to record what was going on then, you were there taking pictures. What's your view on things like YouTube and Snapchat and Facebook? What's your view on them?
Facebook was a nightmare for 2 days. I said, get this out of my life. This is horrible. I don't like what it does. And my friends are going to be people I know and like and want to hug and be with and talk to. And what I say to my friends, I could not say to anyone else. That's what the definition of a friend is. You can communicate with. So I'm not going public with what's in my heart. Required that, so disconnect, which I can't. I'm still there. I still get alerts from them, and then someone else put me on there. And this is like there's some tombstone with my name. So if you write to them and say something about me, it's going to be there. But just look, no, I have enough wonderful friends whom I love, and I don't want to pick them out of the crowd. Snapchat, I don't even know what it does. YouTube is my life, and Google those two are my life, because there's the universe. And any song you ever want is there. It's on YouTube. What more do you need in life but YouTube to hear it and Google to find out what happened? And the rest is bullshit. It's a bunch of amateurs. I don't want to see 600 pictures of me and my girlfriend, and we went to ride a pony, and there's no editing there. This is indulge. If you indulge 46-year-olds, what are they going to come up with? Well, not much better than what you can see anywhere, except by accident. Every once in a while, there's going to be something. Oh, this is great. But I don't care.
Yeah.
But, gotta take it away, Snapchat. But don't take away my YouTube or my Google.
We will not.
Facebook and it's a menace. It only causes trouble. People I love and respect. I can't name names. A wonderful woman who's a very, very old dear friend who's a great international performer and brilliant. And she is on Facebook, and she will, sitting in Berlin in an apartment with ours, and say, look, they love what I had for breakfast. What? They love what you had for breakfast? You're you. I mean, you're an artist, you're a performer, you're amazing. They love what you have you are. And you see the need for approval coming through this Facebook bullshit. I hate that. This is like, whoa. I love you. I don't care what you had for breakfast. I will always love you. I've seen you on a stage get naked or talk about what's corrupt and what's evil and what's good. I don't want to know what you had for breakfast. And I certainly don't know why you want 120,000 million people to know what you had for breakfast, or you care that they like how come they like what you had for breakfast? That was your egg. It was not their. This is also, I'm too old for this world. I got to get off this bus pretty soon, anyhow. But
on a more personal note, as we're on personal matters now, what was it like, or tell me about coming out? Well, I said this to you earlier about coming out, and you said, well, I didn't really come out. But can you talk a little bit about that? Because that still today is still difficult for some people.
Yeah, I don't. I was born out. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Come out. But I'm from New York, and all my friends. I did never. And I went to school at Penn and at Harvard, and there was no such thing as coming out. You didn't have to say, Mom. Well, what kind of mom found a letter? Okay, it happens. And then, it can't be a surprise, Mom. It's like what you always feared, expected, dreaded. Yeah, let's move along. So I saying that and being dismissive about it makes me think, well, there's someone there in the middle of nowhere who is ashamed, concerned, depressed, confused about his or her sexuality, which now you got 50 niches of that. I can't follow this LGG. There's another letter. Every week there's a new letter. So I just call it BLT, and everyone knows what that means, and it sort of has everything in it. I can't follow this jewel. If you left out this niche, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know I'm sounding cynical here. My heart is with anyone who feels that they are don't deserve to be a human being because of whom they love and what bodies they want to hold and what they want to touch, all that. Who made those rules? Nobody. Yeah. We don't need to reproduce because that's where it came from. And we're living with a very unfortunate set of biblical some people wandering through a desert saying, you do this, don't do that. Not me. Not modern. But I can't do any good by saying these things, can I? I just sound like, oh, you'll be all right. Look at me. I'm fine. I read in a Village Voice story that I was famously gay. Famously gay? What does that mean? Even, it was about a Bette Midler show. Even people who are famously gay, like me, hugged and kissed her after the show. What does famously gay, what does that mean? But that's what it means. And did you do what you want, and I will hopefully do what I want, which is right now.
Have some water.
That was hard going through that.
Yeah, that was. Thank you for.
It's not a Facebook. It's not. I can't promulgate these things. It's not a papal thing from anyone. Just good luck. Just find who you love and just fuck them. And dating, I hate dating. This is the word dating. What does that mean? First you have sex, and then you decide if you want to date. And now it's the other way around.
Not the other way around, okay.
Because if you don't like the sex, then how much more time are you going to spend with this person? Okay. All right. Okay. We're here to talk about music.
Moving swiftly on. Okay. So you still live in New York?
Yes, I live in New York.
Yeah, yes. You would never live anywhere else?
I'll gladly live anywhere else. But I'm forced to live there, and it's okay. There are airports, and I spend a lot of time in London. I've been in London 5 months this past year, a month at a time, and it's almost my other city now.
Right.
It used to be Los Angeles, and no one should be, me should not be limited to one place because the world is so full, and especially Europe. Now, wait a minute. Now I'm in Europe, but when I was in London, I'm no longer in Europe. That really sucks.
Yeah.
I can't believe that, but I won't get into it.
Well, you're definitely in Europe now.
I can't believe what it's done to my universe, my London world. It's just wonderful, brilliant people, artists, and bar owners, and waitresses, and busboys, and whatever. I can't believe what it's done to them. This is like a shadow over London this time. Someone threw something on them. It's the greatest, wonderful city, giant city in the world, and they're all, what happens now? And it's kind of a tragedy.
A lot of people are very upset.
Too close to it to even talk about.
So I have one more question. So if you have a question in the audience, you can start getting ready now. So 50 years in the music industry.
Yeah.
If you look around today, you talked about all of the artists and your favorite artists earlier. If you looked around today, would there be any artists where you think, God, I'd love to have discovered them, or I'd love to be promoting them?
Yeah. There's always going to be songwriters, and that's the most important thing to me, but I can't name one, and it wouldn't be fair. I saw a band in London in an almost empty bar in November in Camden called False Heads, and I loved them. I just loved their energy, and they were rock and roll, and we stayed friends. What I can do for them, I don't know. I'm not in the music business now. Of the people I've worked with, we said before, I'm Nico, and now I love, everyone's going to hate me, I love electronic dance music, and I love, well, this is how it happened, if I may. I go to a gym, and they play music, and it's usually late at night, and I work out and listen to the music. There's a great song. I said, wow, what is the song? This is the #1 hit. I'm kind of good at that. Not always, but kind of good at spotting a hit. And I had to find out who's playing it. It was a Spotify fitness feed, okay? Mm-hmm. If you have a gym, you can call Spotify and say, send me fitness stuff, music that we can put on. And they can do, bass and drums, or they can do 80s, nostalgic, like a Cyndi Lauper. This was from the feed called Tomorrowland.
Okay.
That was my first encounter with Tomorrowland, which is gigantic and famous. And how could I know what this was? Because I'm not 17. I didn't know what it was. It's this franchise of new electronic dance music and these giant spectacles where the lights, forget Van Gogh and Rembrandt, whoever is doing those lights. Wow. This is an artist. This is so great. And then some guy standing on stage doing this, and everyone's going crazy and picking their arms up in the air because they know that you can't move very far from side to side. And so they know that. They don't have to be told. And I love that. And much of the music is great. Okay, this one song was by Stromae, who is a Belgian, half. His father was killed in the Rwandan massacre. How many people do you know that you could say that about? I don't know him, but wow. And his mother is Belgian, and he's unbelievably great. And he's got YouTubes, and then his YouTubes will take you to Tomorrowland, where I saw Paul Kalkbrenner, the Berlin genius, and I always get a duh, and I get a duh like what? And then last night I said, well, I like Avicii, and there's like this groan, oh, we want our money back. We don't, well, I like Wake Me Up. What a great song. It's the #1 song, that's all. It's the song.
Good. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to open it up now for questions.
You're going to hate me because I said Avicii.
No, we don't hate you. Does anybody have a question?
Hey, Danny, how are you?
Can I use that?
Yeah.
I just want to see.
You want to try this as well? I was just wondering, looking back and where my favorite music ever maybe is like Detroit, MC5, The Stooges. When that happened, it was like looking at the YouTube videos, for example, it was the most like energetic thing, even by today's standards. But then, after that became the
What's
punk.
your question?
The punk is that...
I do this a lot because, I know you guys want to contribute. Question.
So what happened to the Stooges and the MC5 when punk happened?
Oh, God, when punk happened, well, there was no punk when they happened, and they didn't happen, and they were both fired by the record company that I signed them to, which then 60 years later said, whoa, we're so proud. This is the record company that brought you these two bands that they fired. So the lineage is so complex. I suggest you read Please Kill Me for the American side of it, and a book by John Robb about punk in England. The Ramones, in fact, met each other because there have never been four different kinds of people, because they were Stooges fans in their high school in 1970. Okay, that's how they bonded. It's kind of an answer to your question, is that something becomes something else, or comes into the mind and consciousness of somebody else who says, yes, we like what they're doing, let's do it as they do. The New York Dolls as well, which I wish had been part of my life, but they're not formally, except I loved them, and they invented another universe that went this way and it went that way, and then it got called punk. I'm not sure by whom, and I'm not sure it works. Someone said, oh, the New York Times is doing a big story on punk, and the writer said, oh, we're going to do an interview, but in 3 to 5 sentences, tell me what you think punk is. I said, if I can't do it more than 3 to 5 words, forget it. And I haven't picked them out yet. But I would say young, don't get up there and flop around, and stylish, and aggressive, and fabulous. So that's punk. I don't know. That wasn't an answer to your question, was it at all? Come back,
it was
ask me
pretty
follow-up.
much. It was pretty much an answer to my question. All right.
You can have a follow-up because that was such a terrible answer. No, it was.
But like, do you know, like, for example, for MC5, it seems like, you know, Wayne Kramer, all that energy.
Yes.
Like, he's doing the jail guitar doors thing, which is interesting and important. But
Yes.
I guess he just kind of disappeared for a while.
Yes, he's great, and he's here, and he's great. And it was his energy the first time I ever saw the MC5 on stage at the Grandee Ballroom in Detroit, and September 22nd, 1968. And don't ask me, I remember that, but it was. And great. A source of nuclear fusion, something happening there that is extra musical, that's beyond beyond chords and notes, and yeah, so Wayne is great. And the band, unfortunately, got a little bit too political for a band. This did in the Sex Pistols as well, who are another great band, who were destroyed because no one wants a band that's political. You just tell people it is not wanted. It's associated with destruction and revolt and smashing and burning, and that's unfortunate. Next question. No, I'm sorry. We'll talk.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a follow-up on what you just said. So 60s, as we read from books, and you saw, were also time of destruction and violence, as well as fight for rights in the United States. A lot of great discoveries and trouble, much like what's going on now in the United States. Do you think?
I don't know what you mean by that.
I mean,
because what's going on in the United States cannot be said in 20 words or less.
Absolutely.
And
So-
this is not a Murdoch headline. So please.
Do you think
ahead.
that this decade, with all the all the tumultuous events, will bring us something as culturally powerful as 60s did?
Well, if I could predict the future, I'd be so rich and famous I would not have to be sitting here now.
But you are.
I would buy more than one island, okay? I don't know. How can I know? You know, you guys, it's up to you. I'm getting off this bus. It's up to you to steer it from now on, I hope. I'm kind of sure there will be things that we can't imagine now. You know, that's what Shakespeare's. More things in heaven and earth than are in your philosophy. There are, and because there are more of them, it means we can't give them a name and put them, in a directory or a folder. So I hope so, and I believe so. Or else, there's, go to Facebook and talk about shade for breakfast, or make the future. I think that's a choice. It's a bad answer too. It's hard to be simplistic about these things, but I know what you want to know. And I didn't make it. I came upon it. I came upon a mini universe, and several of them, that was generating excitement, art, talent, wonderfulness, songs, music, paintings, light, all that, dance, all that. The future is going to be putting them all together. That's why I like the EDM shows, because it's all one thing. And I think that package is what I'm really... You will see, I probably won't live to see, but there will be that. I know that. Pass your sponge. Oh, okay,
here.
it's been
Hi.
passed.
Hey, I was wondering, I've read that you introduced Iggy Pop to Bowie, and I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit like how that happened, or why did you...
Okay, I'll tell you how it happened, because this is not miraculous, and I just, this is no, it sounds cosmic. Oh my God, this meeting, there must have been like God touching the Michelangelo's ceiling thing, Adam's finger. It did not happen that way. David had come to, we knew from reading Melody Maker, we didn't really know him then, that he loved Iggy's work. He loved Lou Reed, and he came to New York and hooked up with Lisa and Richard Robinson, who put out Rock Scene magazine and were widely media savvy in the 70s. And Iggy happened to be staying at my flat in New York, and Lisa Robinson called me and said, we just had dinner with Lou Reed, and now David wants to meet Iggy, and isn't he staying with you? Yeah, he's sleeping. We just watched some terrible Western, and he was sitting on the couch. And come to Max's, David wants to meet. Can you bring Iggy to Max's Kansas City, which was the Action Central hangout in New York, just around the corner. So Iggy, I said, wake up, David Bowie wants to meet you. The one who said you were his favorite new vocalist and melody maker. Okay, it's just at Max's, it's around the corner. Come on, wake up. And so we walked the 200-300 yards there, and it was late, there were very few people there. It was around 3 a.m. And I said, Iggy, no, here's what you asked to be delivered. And the two of them just started talking about music. And Lisa and Richard and I, who were responsible for this match, went off in the corner and ordered a quart of vodka and just watched them. And yes, they seemed to be getting along. That was it. So it was not miraculous. It was your house guest. Get up, someone wants to meet you. That was it. I had not plotted this. Someday, we didn't know who he was, except we thought he was great and fabulous and beautiful. He was in New York looking for his idols, who were Lou and Iggy. So that's all I did. Just, Iggy, come on, let's go. Let's walk a few blocks. That's it. And it becomes legendary. Yeah. And you want to know, what was it really like? It was really like, no. And they said, and they start talking about music, and we move away, and that was it.
Thank you.
There was not lightning, and the Red Sea didn't part, nothing. Just that was it.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, Danny. Thanks a million for coming. It's really interesting to hear you talk. I understand you worked with the Doors as well. I'd be curious to hear how that relationship came about and even what you did with the Doors. Or not, or talk about it.
Well, no, I mean, it's okay. I mean, look, they were part of my life because there was another accident. A woman I knew in Los Angeles said, my band that I work with is coming to New York. Would you do them? She was doing me a favor. I had a band going to Los Angeles. She had a band coming to New York. Would you check them out? See if there's anything you can do for them. They could use a little press. I went to see them. At about the same time, my greatest groupie gals, the forefront of the word is patronizing, I know, and sexist, I know, but these girls knew what was happening. And, we have the sexiest guy, this great band playing uptown. I heard it from them. Then I get to the person who represents herself as the manager of the band. Would you go see them and see if you can help them? So I went to see them, and this is a good band. And I went to and I said, I said, I'm your press agent. Hello, you're an LA woman, asked me to help you here. I was like, okay. This is 1967, I think. And I said, I'm going to come and interview you and ask you, and each of you sit there, and, what's your favorite flower, and what do you look for in a girl, and all that. And that was the beginning of that. I went to the record company and said, hi, it was so different then. It was like a little village, okay. And I'm the press agent for your band called The Doors. Oh, wow, we never met a press agent. They never met a press agent. Come over. And eventually, Elektra hired me to start a press department for them. And so I found myself officially the publicity person for this person who turned out to be an astonishing asshole. Although one of the most talented people I've ever known, and one of the smartest, and one of the meanest and cruelest and most brilliant, and except for his poetry, which is not very good. But everything else he did was, wow. He was extra human. And he's not really dead. That's a whole other thing. There is a corpse buried in Paris somewhere, but he keeps making trouble. Like he did that.
I think that's a great note to end on.
Okay. But what can I say about them?
Brilliant. Listen, thanks so much for being here today, for answering all of our questions, for sharing so much. It's absolutely fascinating.
Thank you.
Yeah.